Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's 2018, folks. I cannot believe it. We are 2 years away from the roaring 20s. Are we? First of all, I'm back in 2018 and this is my very first video and this year, obviously, and I've got a few updates for those of you who are already subscribed to my channel. For those of you who are new, hold on just for like 30 seconds before I quickly share something with you, which has nothing to do with the topic of the video. I've got a new tattoo. I hope you can see it. It's my sister who designed this tattoo for me, and she's the one who actually inked it. I'm not sure if that's the right terminology, and I'm very, very happy to go into 2018 with a new tattoo. But moving on from that, folks, I know why you are here today. You want to find out more about the fourth house in astrology. So we are continuing the series, the houses series in astrology. It's like a 101 astrology basics. If you are interested in practicing astrology or understanding it on a more on an in-depth level, I would say, then you have to understand the meaning of the 12 houses in astrology. There's no other way around it. Today we are discussing fourth house matters and what the various planetary placements in the fourth house mean, basically. What is the fourth house? So, the fourth house is also called the Imam Sili, if that's the right pronunciation in Latin. So it is the lowest point in someone's birth chart. The highest point is the 10th house and the midheaven, basically. So the fourth house is at the very bottom of someone's chart. In general in astrology, so I'm not talking about specifics about like anyone's birth chart, but in general, it is Cancer who rules this fourth house, and the qualities of this fourth house are very water-like, obviously, because Cancer is a water sign. Everyone's got a fourth house in their natal chart, so what I'm gonna be telling you now is concerning every single one of you. In order to find out if you've got any planets in your fourth house, or to find out the sign that rules your fourth house. For instance, the sign that rules my fourth house is Virgo, and I've got 0 planets there. I've left a link in the description box down below, and all you have to do is put in your date of birth, time of birth, and place of birth to find out what your natal chart overall looks like, and to find if you've got any planets in the fourth house. What areas of life does the fourth house govern? Because as we've already established, every single house in your natal chart governs a specific area in your life. The fourth house is concerned with our roots. It is concerned with where we come from. It's concerned with our childhood. It governs our experience of our parents in our childhood. It also governs our ancestors. In a wider sense, the fourth house governs family. It governs the community that we are a part of, but the very close-knit communities. That's why it's all related to family and ancestry, I would say. The fourth house also governs the home. So the actual place that we live in, the places that we are probably going to live in throughout our lives, throughout this lifetime in particular. The fourth house indicates our attitude towards home, towards family, towards children, towards one of our parents. In general, the fourth house governs the father, and the 10th house governs the mother, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that way for every single one of you. It's basically the fourth house is the one that governs the parent that is more assertive, I would say, in your life as a child. Why is the fourth house so important? Because I did mention this to begin with. The fourth house governs where we come from, not just in a physical, material oh, this is like my background, this is the sort of family that I was born in, these are my parents, this is my house, etc. So the fourth house governs where we come from on a material level, but also on a psychological, deeply embedded level as well. The fourth house is one of the three karmic houses in astrology, along with the eighth house and the 12th house. It's got a lot to do with our past, not just in this lifetime, but also in previous lifetimes. So the fourth house also indicates, to an extent, the sort of like baggage we carry into this lifetime, especially the baggage that we are not necessarily conscious of. Enough with all this karma talk right now. I mean, sometimes it gets me a little bit to keep on talking about karma and baggage, and I'm not sure how interested you guys are in this. If you want to find out more about the relationship between astrology and karma, please let me know in the comments below. But we are moving on from that right now in this video. Now, let us talk a little bit about the planets that you guys may have placed in the fourth house, and what does that mean for you? How does that affect your life? How does that affect your attitude, your mindset, the way you tackle life in general? Before you listen to what I'm about to say, like I said, it would be fantastic if you would go to the link in the description box down below to actually see, to figure out what your chart looks like, and to actually see if you've got any planets there. If you've got planets, that means you've got a lot of energy that you need to channel through that house in this particular lifetime. Let us begin with the one and only Sun in the fourth house. So people who've got their sun in the fourth house are usually very proud of where they come from. They're very proud of their ancestors. They're very proud of their roots. They might actually be very, very proud of their homes, of the home that they live in. The sun rules our ego, and for some people, for a lot of people actually, with the sun in their fourth house, their home needs to be something that they are very proud of. That's why they might spend a lot of time designing it, a lot of money. They might put a lot of money and energy into getting the perfect house, into making it look perfect, into showing it off to friends and family, and so on and so forth. With the sun in the fourth house, it's also very likely that the child, if you've got that placement as a child, you might have felt like you were shining in the bosom of your family, and you might feel like in the bosom of your family is where your true light comes out, and it's your family that can see your true colors. You feel very, very comfortable at home, and the home is actually a place where you can recharge yourself. So I would say it's a good placement in a sense that you feel nurtured when you're at home. You feel supported, and it's very important for you to have the support of your family in general in what you're doing. It's very important for you to be liked by your family and to be applauded by your family. Now, if you've got your moon in your fourth house, so what does that mean? First of all, it is very likely that in this lifetime you will live at least for a period of time near the water in general. Sorry about that, guys. That's the telephone. You feel very much comfortable when you are in the vicinity of a river, of the sea, and so on and so forth. If you find yourself living in a place that is very, very far away from water, I would say it would be good for your mental well-being to frequently go to the seaside if you can, to go walk by a river, because it's going to be very rejuvenating for you. It's very possible with the moon in the fourth house that in childhood you might have moved around quite a bit. In terms of additional indications that this placement can give to us, the moon is a very feminine energy, a very watery feminine energy, and it's very possible that in your childhood you were surrounded a lot in your family by feminine figures rather than masculine figures. your home is seen also as a refuge. It's seen as a place where you can retreat and again recharge yourself, and protect yourself from what's going on outside in the world. In terms of additional indications that this placement might give to us, you might be very patriotic, and you might identify very, very strongly with, again, with your heritage, but it's something not necessarily consciously acknowledged, because the moon governs our subconscious, I would say. Moving on to the next planet that you guys might have in your fourth house, Mercury. Oh my days. So with Mercury in your fourth house, it's very possible that there were a lot of in your childhood, that there were a lot of like communications going on. Maybe there was like always like a newspaper like being brought in, a lot of magazines, a lot of books, a lot of discussions, a lot of verbal interaction between the members of your family. Mercury usually indicates a lot of activity when it comes to like expressing thoughts. So it's very, very possible that in your family, when you were a child, opinions were encouraged, discussions were encouraged. It's also possible that one of your parents might have worked in a communications or sales related field, which is again very, very mercurial. In terms of the sort of like home that you would ideally like to live in, Mercury gets bored quite easily, quite quickly, so you might find yourself moving quite a bit, or you might find that you're actually like getting bored of the places where you live throughout this lifetime. So yeah, that's not necessarily the best side effect of Mercury. The next planet in the fourth house that you guys might have is Venus. Oh my days, Venus. Beautiful, beautiful. So in general, I have to say, with Venus in the fourth house, it's very, very possible that you felt very loved, very nurtured, very nourished, very supported in the midst of your family when you were growing up. It's also very possible that one of your parents was either working or very interested in an area concerning aesthetics and beauty. In general, we look at the mother for this type of like activity and proclivity, but it's not a given. It's not like a must. It might have been, I don't know, maybe you had a parent who was working in the beauty industry or in something design related. With Venus in the fourth house, it's also very possible that you might, throughout this lifetime, love decorating and beautifying your home, and actually having a bit of a self-indulgent, how should I say, tendency when it comes to your house and the place that you live in. It's also very possible with Venus in the fourth house that you might have more than just one home in this lifetime. And when I say more than just one home, I'm talking about owning more than just one home, because let us not forget, Venus is one of the planets of good luck and one of the planets that brings abundance. And when I say abundance, I'm also referring to material, financial abundance. You might actually come from a family that is pretty well off, is doing pretty well, and you might get some support when it comes to acquiring your first home or acquiring several homes. Moving on to the next planet that you may or may not have in your fourth house, Mars. So with Mars, it's very possible that in your childhood there might have been like arguments or a lot of like competition going on, either between parents, either between you and your siblings. Or it's possible that you had a parent working in a very Martian industry, such as mechanics, engineering. Maybe one of your parents was like a firefighter. In any case, you might spend a lot of time in this lifetime when it comes to acquiring a home. So that is like one of the positive possibilities that Mars brings about. The other possibility is that you might spend a lot of time fighting with members of your family. So we definitely don't want that to happen. We'd prefer it if you spent time on acquiring homes and lands and putting a lot of energy into your home. What if you had Uranus in your fourth house? I have to say, with Uranus, it's very possible with this placement that something very radical and very, very powerful happened in your childhood that might have like taken you away from one of your parents. It's very possible that one of the parents disappeared, or you might have lost someone in your family, or you might have been pulled away from the place where you were born and taken to like a completely different place altogether, like had to relocate all of a sudden, and this was not something that you were very comfortable with. In any case, a very sudden, a very out of the blue, spontaneous event happened that it's very possible that basically shifted your life forever. Uranus can also be indicative of a step parent, I have to say. In terms of the sort of attitude that this placement can give you in your life, you've learned very, very early that you enjoy being independent, that you have to fend for yourself, that anything could happen, and this has actually probably made you stronger in the process. Now, let's say you've got Neptune in your fourth house. Well, with Neptune in the fourth house, one of the possibilities is that you might have like an idealistic view of what a home should be like, of what a family should be like. I have to say, this is probably like a tendency to counteract the less than ideal conditions that you were potentially brought up in. So with Neptune in the fourth house, it's very possible that one of the parents had escapist tendencies, so they might have been like into drugs, alcohol, and so on and so forth, but that's not like a given. It's also very possible that you grew up in a very artistic environment, in an environment where a lot of dance and music and drama might have featured. Now, let's say you've got Pluto in your fourth house of home and family, dear God. Pluto is the lord of the underground, and Pluto is the planet of secrets and taboos. It's very possible that in your childhood, or in your in the life of your family, in the life of your ancestors, somewhere down the genealogical line, God, I can't pronounce that word, something very bad or very taboo-like happened, and it's like this skeleton in the closet weighs down on the shoulders of your entire family. You might actually discover things about your family throughout your life that basically change your perception about them altogether. With Pluto in the fourth house, it's also very possible that you might have this sort of like obsession about forming a family, about having a family of your own, about like getting married and having children and so on and so forth. And last but not least, with Pluto in the fourth house, it's very possible that you might have had like a parent who was experienced as being like very strong, very powerful, almost in a dictatorial sense of the word. Someone who was like very intimidating, so strong that basically you like froze when you had to interact with them. Now, if you've got Saturn in the fourth house, then I have to say your childhood might not have been the rosiest one. It's very possible that you've had to carry your own weight pretty much, and you might have experienced quite a bit of burdens throughout your early years. It's also very possible that one of the parents might have been like ill or had like some sort of affliction that made you experience them, and like the entire like family cell experienced that particular person as some sort of burden. It's also very possible that there weren't a lot of like material resources, financially things weren't necessarily as well as they could possibly be, and everyone was just like very, very busy with work and with all the responsibilities that they had. So the home and your experience of your family life might have been a very um, repressive one, in a sense that you might not have necessarily felt like you could put yourself out there, express what's going through your head, feel the support of a family the way you might have wanted to feel it. It's also very possible, due to these conditions that you grew up in, potentially, that you've become very responsible and very aware of how hard life can be sometimes, and it might have helped you grow up a little bit earlier than many of your peers, let's say, which is not necessarily a bad thing in the long run, especially if you ask me, I would say. Now, if you've got Jupiter in your fourth house, then that is a completely different story altogether. You might come from what is called a good family. It's very possible that your family and your ancestors might have been like foreigners who came over to like a foreign land and settled there, and then at some point in life, you appeared into the world. It's also very possible that you're very well off and your family is very well off. So, in terms of where you come from, um, resources were never really a problem, I would say. Um, it's also very possible with Jupiter in the fourth house that in this lifetime you are going to live at least for a set amount of time abroad. It's also a possibility that you might decide to move abroad altogether. But in any case, you'll probably be attracted, lured by foreign countries when it comes to settling somewhere. With Jupiter in the fourth house, one of the parents might have been experienced as being very good at storytelling. It's also possible that one of your parents might have been like a teacher or a professor. And last but not least, let us not forget that Jupiter is also the planet of religion. So in this lifetime, you might find yourself living very close to a church, or living like very close to some sort of like temple, spiritual establishment, or at home is the place where you're very likely to delve deeper into spiritual, philosophical, and religious talks, I would say. Now, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any more questions related to the fourth house, please let me know in the description down below, and I shall see you next time. Bye!